Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the tavern. I'm your wonderful host, and tonight we have a wonderful guest, Jason Russell, otherwise known as the Critical Dice. Now, I've been following Jason for quite a few years now, and it's been my luxury to finally get a hold of him when he's not busy to have him hop on the tavern and kind of give us some insight on what he's doing in this crazy world we call TTRPGs. So before we jump into our adventure and find out what character he's bringing tonight, I'm just going to let Jason say a couple words, tell us kind of who he is, where you can find him, and all that fun stuff. Go for it, Jason.
I love that it's a luxury. That's amazing. Hi, I'm Jason Russell from Critical Dice. You can find me at Critical Dice on Instagram and heaven help us TikTok. You can find all the stuff that I do at thecriticaldice.com, where I have dice subscriptions, merch, and more, and even live events like the Convergence. And I do D&D stuff professionally and full time now. So that's me.
That's awesome. That is the plan in the near future, but we'll see where that goes. For myself included. So just following the footsteps of the big guys that are growing and doing it already.
Yeah, it feels like the dream most days. Most days.
I can understand that. I'm running multiple games weekly right now, paid thankfully, but it's not paying the bills yet. So hopefully that continues to grow and we can continue to get to that point. But I can understand where you're coming from. Most days I'm excited to do this. There's a few in between there that run out of the steam, I guess is the best way I could put it.
Yeah. You only do so much output in a given day or week, and sometimes you just gotta call it good and move on to other things. But
right.
As long as the passion remains, as long as the love for the community and the love for the games that we play remains, then you're good.
Yes, I completely agree. And what a nice way for us to start off our adventure tonight. So just a heads up for everybody who's new to the channel and new to the tavern. About 2 months ago, we started something new, and it allows the community to get something back for what they're doing. So as a community, you can give a total of $25. This is $1 here, $1 there. Once we hit that $25 mark, for that episode, the character that's brought to the world is actually created by our wonderful artist, Brina Luna. So once that's done, at the end of the show, if it's completed, if that is completed, then what we'll do is we'll drop a G Drive link in chat, and you hold on to that. And in about a week to 2 weeks, go back on that G Drive link, and you can grab the character and go use them in your TTRPG or your VTTs. So that's kind of the way for us to give back to the community. We just want to make sure that our artists are paid as well. So let's jump in. Tonight's adventure hopefully is not going to throw you for a loop. And now, for you being a professional dungeon master, I figured I'd give you something a little more fun to play with.
Okay.
So this event actually is the aftermath of a very horrible tragedy that has happened in the world. The journey was long, taken to the far reaches of the world where it's said hold a gravesite of titans of old, crossing over mountainsides and valleys until, as if a shift in time, the lush hills peer from the distance, as if a painting beyond the harsh mountains range that you're climbing. A massive, vibrant colored bird flies over top and lets out a giant squawk. What do you do?
Oh, wow. As if I was a character in a...
As if you were the character.
I would probably focus on the bird. I mean, if this is a scenario with dead titans and long, arduous journey, then to come upon an idyllic setting there with a multicolored bird shrieking, like that bird should be really important. I would probably, you know, call out to the bird, show a sign of universal deference, and give some honorifics to it in hopes to coax it down. If nothing else happens, then I'll move on.
As you do so, you start to see almost like this trail of sparkles coming off the bird as it flies off into the distance.
All right. Is it flying towards where I'm going or back the other way?
It's flying towards where you're going.
Yeah, I'll follow it, watching for other interesting things in this new scenario, and try to get to my final destination.
So as you follow it down the hillside, and the change from the snow-covered peaks that you've been traveling for days turns into the lush green hills that you're now seeing. It flies over top of these hills until it lands on what looks like a giant stone, about 60 to 70 feet away.
Are we talking like Boulder or like Easter Island
Boulder.
or bigger? Okay,
Boulder is probably
Boulder.
the best way to describe that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would probably carefully approach the stone, kind of looking to see if the bird reacts, but also looking to see if there's anything, substantive or unusual about the boulder.
The carvings on where you're looking at the boulder kind of give off, um, almost like a shaping of the boulder. And as you look around it, you can now see that this isn't just a boulder, but rather two pools of water are pouring out of the eyes. And you see that this is one of those titans that has been laid to rest. And as you do so, you can, at the bottom underneath where the mouth would be, you look in. And what do you see as the reflection? Who is this character that has now found this area?
I think that the reflection that would be seen is true to reality, and it is a youngish looking satyr, with a jaunty green vest with way too many pockets, curled horns, an impressive long goatee, and the classic naked hairy legs, and a messenger bag, sword at its hip. And various colored beads woven into the hair, and larger kind of hollow beads pushed up as high as they'll go on the back of the horns to kind of complete the effect.
Wow. It's a beautiful just imagery that's coming out now. I love this. This is one of the fun things we've been doing for the last couple of months, is watching guests create these amazing characters. Now, what would have been the reasoning that this character would have traveled out this far?
I I think he's under the impression, this lifelong held belief, only reinforced by his culture and the teachings of his elders, that the tall folk have a saying that history repeats itself, and they have a similar saying, but with a little bit of a twist, that the past predicts the future, and that by knowing how these titans met their end and were interred, you could see a glimpse and perhaps even a clear picture of how this world will meet its end.
Very nice. Now, going to kind of step away from some of the storytelling portions. We're going to find out a little bit more about this character. Does this character have a name?
Yeah, I think his name is Griff.
Griff. And Griff is a satyr. And just kind of some glimpses of what would Griff have been doing before he took on this journey? What
I
would have been
think
his normal everyday?
I think he is something of a game shark, like a pool shark,
Yeah.
uh, and would hold up in taverns with one of those Go style games, or Pente, with like the colored glass beads,
Mm-hmm.
challenging, especially adventurers with games of strategy, and that always include wagers. And I think he almost always wins, but what he wins beyond his, room for the night is he will get them to wager something that is inconsequential, but at the same time, if they lose it, it's going to inconvenience them in a big way. So not their sword, but the scabbard for their sword. Now they have nowhere to put it,
Right. It's very, very tricksy of a
yeah,
character.
not the loot from the bard, but the tuning fork for it.
It's beautiful. I love it. That's fantastic. And what a fun character to play too, because you could just
Oh
be
yeah,
this
I
way
mean,
for everyone.
I just thought of it, and I'm just like, I kind of want to play this now. This is pretty cool.
No, it'd be so much fun because not only could you pick on, the NPCs in the world, but you're also able to pick on the players just because it's not something that's going to hinder them, but it's just going to be a little bit of an inconvenience, right? Like
Yeah,
you're not picking things that are going to dare say give issues during combat or during an encounter. But every once in a while they might need something, and you're like, "Oh, I have that because I won that from you." And
yeah, and they'll remember forever the guy who took that thing, and that I
right,
beat and that I beat them.
that's
And I think
great.
that's what he's looking for.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Um, I'm curious if this character has a class or if it is considered more of an NPC character. What
Um,
would you consider its class?
uh, I think if we were doing like D&D rules, it would be
Yeah.
something very much like a rogue or a bard, maybe a scout or infiltrator,
Okay.
um, or a wanderer of some kind,
I
possibly a
can't say I
ranger.
would. I can't say I would be able to do anything other than D&D rules yet because we haven't seen what is going to be presented from anything else just yet. So,
Yeah,
um,
exactly. But I think
but
that's the easiest common reference point
yeah,
for
the easiest common reference, some sort of range or some sort of rogue
Yeah,
ranger.
I think Ranger actually, now that more I think about it, just because like the almost like a double entendre for the name, someone who
Yeah,
ranges far and wide, a little bit of a nature element going on, but with roguish kind of subtext to it as well. Hence
yeah,
the
almost
kind
like
of fey gambling
this
going on.
the city range. Like I hate to say city, but like the village ranger. It's the city
Mhm.
ranger.
Urban Ranger,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, the urban. There, that's the word I'm looking for. Urban ranger. Yeah,
I
that's
put the
the.
fantasy in urban fantasy. Yeah,
No,
I think that's what I would do. Yeah, I have to go make a
that would
character
be
now.
fun. Yeah,
Uh,
no. No, this, like I said, this is what we've been doing for the last couple of months, and it's been a lot of fun to watch people create these characters. And then all of a sudden, at the end of it, they're going, maybe I'll play this character. Or we get wonderful people who come in and they actually bring a character that they've done or that they've played before, and then we ask a whole bunch of questions like, how did the character come to be, that kind of fun stuff. But since you're just creating this character off the top now, just to bring to the tavern, it brings a little bit more of a ingenuity to it. Um,
yeah, and oftentimes like the things that come off the fly can be really great because they show you what you are kind of who you really are, or the things you want to explore, or the things you're thinking
mm,
about or dealing with. So it's yeah, it's fun to kind of do things off the top of their head. I have a player in one of my games that literally made their character with the randomize button. And it is the best character, one of the best characters I've ever played with, and is like a fan favorite when we stream the games. Absolutely
that's
fan favorite.
awesome. Yeah,
Um,
we worked with I went on a show called Whose Role Is It over at Last Game Board for a couple episodes, and that's the whole show. So we don't even know what character we're playing until we arrive there that night, and our wonderful host Phil was just hitting the D&D Beyond random generator once and then moving it once and then moving it. The downfall with that version though is nothing is optimized at all.
no, not at all.
So I was playing in I was playing an Eric Hawkra bard with a high strength, and I was like, what am I gonna do with this?
He's just like, it's like being in Guar. He's a
Yeah,
sailor, but it's not subtle. Um,
yeah,
or Kiss or something.
right. Yeah, and it was like I had barely any charisma, and I was like, and not to mention they were just bad roles in general. I was like, okay, come on, guys.
Yeah.
But by the end of it, it was hilarious. Like I was doing like trying to use anything I could come up with, and it just made you really think outside the box a lot on a lot of things.
Absolutely. And there's no reason
So,
that characters should be optimized. I mean,
right.
like an argument can be made that like, well, all the great heroes are. Yeah, that's why they were great and survived. There's a ton of heroes that go out every day and then
Yep.
they just never come home because they, God bless them, they were following their dreams. They shot for the stars and ran into a goblin horde. And that was the end of them. And that's
That was
okay
the end of
because
that. Yeah,
those adventures were still adventures.
they were. And that also makes it kind of that fact where, sometimes death is something that happens in the
Mm-hmm.
world. Um, and if everybody's the adventurer, then that's not possible.
Right.
So
You need to figure out what's
I will.
like seriously.
So the next thing, so now that we've kind of went over the character and we've had a chance to kind of understand Griff, um, let's let's transition back and let's find out about Jason now.
Okay.
So, and this is where we get to find out about this thing he was talking about earlier called the convergence. Now, this thing,
Yeah.
this event, I can't call it a thing. This event is going to be big. It's not small. It's a very large event. And if you
Yeah.
haven't seen Jason stuff or a lot of the other creators that are going out for this event, you're really missing out, especially if you can make it out to Salt Lake. But I'm not going to talk about this anymore. I'm going to let Jason kind of give an idea of what is going to
Yeah.
be involved.
Uh, yeah, no problem. So, the Convergence is a an immersive fantasy getaway. It's like one part fantasy vacation, one part like gaming convention, kind of, and it's a combination between Evermore Park, which is just outside of Salt Lake City in Utah, which is like yeah, it's at Evermore, Heroes of Evermore, where it's Evermore is basically like if like a Renaissance fair and Disneyland had a baby, and it's like a permanent, amazing, just like little like time warp to a fantasy world, and we're basically taking it over for a week, and partnered with Quincy's Tavern to make that happen because people are always asking Quincy, hey, when is the tavern going to be a real place that you can visit? Well, we have the partial answer for a week. May 1st through 6th, it will be a real place that you can visit at Evermore Park.
That's
And
awesome.
so we're doing some custom quests and we're doing some redressing of the tavern they have there inside the park to make it the Lucky Griffin. And
Yeah.
it should be really amazing. And so the big event is on the weekend there, the 5th and 6th, Friday and Saturday. Those tickets are still available, but as you go, if you've never been to Evermore, you don't know anything about it, is they do an amazing job of making you feel like the main character in your own adventure, whether it's a video game or in a fantasy TTRPG. And they have all of these actors, NPCs, cosplayers, whatever you want to call them, that are there that are part of different guilds or factions inside the park and have their own little quests that they can send you on that are like multi-stage that you actually can get little rewards for and even join guilds and for every season of the park they have these big overarching stories. And so the convergence is basically us saying that the planets shift and the planes align and the Lucky Griffin will be on our plane for a little bit. And as such, some of those things change inside the park. And so it'd be a really great experience. You can go to the Lucky Griffin, you can say hi to Quincy and maybe get a hot cocoa or a cider or something. You can go on quests. You can join some of the factions like the Griffin Watch or the what is it, the Dragon Synod. And then we have like a kind of a Q&A thing with Quincy's Tavern. They're at the main square of the park, and it'll just be a really amazing time. And then the part that's the other thing that we're doing with it is sold out, so I don't start with that. But basically, for the 2 days prior, we have the park to ourselves, and so we're feeling all these amazing buildings and spaces inside the park, like the tavern and the catacombs and the totally not for legal reasons Hobbit house that they have there with games of D&D with
Awesome.
these really well-known dungeon masters from around the country, and with games inside of those for those 2 days. And so that's all sold out, but a lot of our DMs are sticking around for the weekend, and all the players, plus everyone else who wants to come. And then a lot of our friends who are creators in the TTRPG space and others will be dropping in just to hang out and be a part of the experience. So it's going to be a magical time, and you can find out more about it at theconvergence.events.
Let's get that out there so people can see that.
Yeah, so Smoking Barrel is in our chat, Porter and Elowen, and they'll be running a table at the D&D. I also earlier saw Distal was in here as one of our players. My friend Gamer Raider Girl is there. But yeah, so it really is just it was a confluence of events where we saw Evermore saying on TikTok, hey, we wish more people would come and record their D&D podcasts here or something. And both me and Quincy got tagged multiple times, and I had the idea, and I was like, huh. So I called them and got in touch with them, and then made a call to Quincy. I was like, all right, here's my idea, hear me out. And he's like, well, see if we can do it. And now we're 98 days away from it happening. So
wow.
we're pretty excited about it.
That's epic. And that's a huge accomplishment for you and Quincy and the whole crew, but also just a huge accomplishment for the TTRPG community.
Absolutely.
To launch something this big. Yeah, Panic at 98 days.
98 days. Yeah, tell me about it.
That's
yeah, so it's yeah, I like that you picked up on that it really is something for the community.
It is.
And like I love going to conventions and things, but I never used to go because they were just so expensive, and the only thing to do once you got there was stand in really long lines for panels or buy more stuff. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that. And so yeah, we'll have some booths of some pretty great independent creators inside the TTRPG space, but the main thing to do is to experience the park and kind of have that Ren Fair experience, but with the extra level of it being the Lucky Griffin Tavern, and getting to meet probably some of the creators and content makers that you love and admire. So yeah,
it's crazy because I've been watching you for so long about what you've done and whatnot, and I knew about the Convergence. For some reason, I didn't connect that that's what we might be talking about tonight. Now, it's the reason I say that is last week we had Zan Campbell from the Warrior Weekend Experience down in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And they do something very similar, but it's on a much more medieval reenactment feel than it is on a D&D you are the hero of the story type feel,
or just general fantasy as opposed to a place locked in time. Just it's more of a thematic setting than it is a historical thing.
Yeah, but either way, like I said, it's just these are amazing things that are coming out of the TTRPG community creators. A lot of people say like, well, what happens when adults get money? This is the stuff that happens.
Yes, it is.
This is when we start building these dreams that we've thought about since we were 10 years old, and then now somehow they're coming to life. But like I said, testament to you and the group that you've put together to It seems like sell out pretty much Evermore, other than just to go. All the shows are sold. All the games are sold out. That's much.
Yeah. So like the
Um,
VIP experience is sold out, but the real event, the main event, is on the weekend where you
mhm.
just get to enjoy a augmented, Evermore experience, which is already worth the trip. But we try to
Right.
add some more things on top of that. So, um, but yeah, we couldn't be more excited about it. It's we're getting a lot of work done to make it happen, but it's as it gets closer, we just get really
Right.
excited. So yeah.
Do you want to give a shout out to all of the amazing people that you've got involved,
Oh gosh, I mean, there'd be
if
a
you
lot of
can?
people. Yeah, so Gamer Raider Girl in here is Ivy, who is coming on board temporarily to help me and to help, herd cats. I mean DMs. No, wait, the first one was right. And our good friend Tay is coming alongside to help run some of the logistics. Um, I have my kind of event coordinator who I've been friends with for over 20 years, Tiffany, Quincy, of course, and then, um, as I say, conduct the train that will derail. Yep, that's right. We got it. But then all of our DMs, so like Quincy, One Shot Questers, Jeremy Cobb from Three Black Halflings, Gabe Hicks, Katie Asaurus, Kate Welch, who wrote Ghost of Saltmarsh, Lucan,
just
uh,
just just
yeah,
that, you know.
casually, like one does. Luke and Anna Kimbrough from Misty Mountain Legends, That Gray Gentleman, Porter and Elwyn from Smoking Barrel, Mr. Kurt Wise, Arcane Anthems, Dice Cream Sandwich, Dempsey and Davis, who you might know from TikTok, my good friend Tim Woods and Sir Fiffers, and myself. And so those are our DMs, although there will be one more being added here soon. But yeah, and I'm sure I am forgetting people, but we have and then a ton of our friends are coming out as well, just to be part of it and to enjoy the awesomeness. Um,
Right.
if you've ever watched one of the games I DM with Quincy's Tavern, just think about a lot of the people who we play with regularly.
Mhm.
They are absolutely excited to be there. So
Awesome.
yeah, Gamer Red Girl is the house mom. Yes, you absolutely are. That is the official title. I'll make a name badge. Um, Gabe James Game, yep. Kitiosaurus, yeah, all those people. So we're just
Wow.
thrilled that these people wanted to work with us and wanted to be a part of this experience. And our real hope is that people walk away just feeling like they really have experienced something magical, and they can't wait to come back, and do it again the next year, which is what we would like to do. So
That's awesome. Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's kind of the ongoing thought process of these big events is they're not just events that you go once to, they're ones that you want to come back to over and over and over again. We had the honor to have Justin, who's the general manager over at D&D in the Castle one, right
yeah,
before the holidays, and this to me is that same level of commitment and like just over the top experience that you're looking for. You just This one's in the States, the other one's in England, so it's like which if you
yes.
can make it, go to both.
Yeah,
Um,
we don't have a
but
castle, but we do have a lot of
yeah,
other things. And yeah,
yeah,
you're
we
right.
do.
For most people, it's way easier to get to. And even once you're there, it's much cheaper just to do the event, even if you have the expensive ticket, but just to be there and do stuff. And so
Yeah,
part of it was we really did want to have something that would be a lot more accessible, because D&D Castle seems really cool. I've had friends that have gone and have enjoyed it, but yeah, it's inaccessible to a lot of people, and so yeah, so we wanted to make that a lot easier for most folks. Where Jason goes, we follow. I thought Gamer Raider Girl. I thought you were the cult leader. What's going on?
no, this is like I said, this is that testament of what this year and all the things that have kind of built up to 2023 of within the community. Uh, and, we're seeing it in all aspects. And I'm not going to go very far into the whole dumpster fire that's going on right now in the TTRPG community, and that's where I'm going to say it.
Sure. Yeah,
but
it's a dumpster fire so bad even the possums are running. So
yeah, but amazing, absolutely incredible things are coming out of it.
Yeah,
that
I think so.
wouldn't have happened otherwise. Even if things are fixed, there are things in play at this point where new amazing opportunities are coming out to creators all over the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it will be a net positive. It doesn't mean that everything everywhere will be positive. I think it'll I can't stop looking at chat. I think that it'll be a net positive for the community as a whole. I hope that that this forcefully corrects some erroneous thinking in the higher ups of the game we all love, and I hope that it also shakes loose the kind of lockstep that the larger community was in when it came to other games and other systems and learning how to have fun with those things. It really, I think, will end up breaking up a not a monopoly, but like a kind of purchasing block that make it hard for there to be other games that you could just kind of assume that other players will know how to play.
Right.
Instead of having to default to D&D. So I think that'll be a really good thing. I will say this because I don't want to super get into this. The only thing that really bums me out on a personal level is that the D&D movie comes out like about a little more than a month.
Yeah.
It looks so good. I got to see at San Diego footage they haven't even released yet, which was really amazing. And I'm like, yes, this is going to be great. It's Fantasy Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm going to love this. And now there's a lot of people who just don't go to see it on principle. And it's not the movie's fault, but we really could have had something there. And so I wonder if it won't do as well as they had hoped, and any shots of erasing the terrible mistakes of the fantasy movie past won't be erased, and we'll just have this one bright spot that could have been a contender, you know.
It could have been something.
Exactly. But they mess with the family. So this is its fate. So that's the thing that kind of bugged me out about all of this, among other things, but on a personal level. But yeah.
I will say though, this is just one of many things that are kind of popping up now this year that nobody knew about. The release today of the Mighty Nine coming out now with Critical Role, with their animated series. I think one of the stream sites has bought to do a TV show that's based in Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
So,
and that announcement got totally just squashed with all.
Because it was right there in the middle of the fire. So
I heard about it from two people, not from the whole social media community talking about it. Yeah, how it would have been. So I know nothing about it because I'm like, I'll look at it later.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything else other than I saw it posted. I think it's Paramount Plus.
Yeah,
purchased the ability to run a show. Okay, cool.
Because Paramount.
That's all I heard.
The movie, so that makes sense. But,
yeah. So, but yeah, that's definitely awesome. So, let's kind of jump back a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
Give us kind of a rundown of how this whole thing started, because there are people out there who are like, man, I want to get into this world. I want to get into this creativity thing, this D&D atmosphere the way we do it, and the way you do it, rather. I'm very small compared to the group that you run with. However, we're growing. I'll admit that. We're growing slowly.
Absolutely.
And kind of give people some insight on what that starting process was.
Honestly, it's it was just a lot of perseverance. I started being a content creator with the Game Hooks a little over 5 years ago now, which we were chatting before the show, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's been over 5 years. What the heck? And I had an idea for some dice I wanted to make, and I was going to put them on Amazon, and I was like, well, I need to promote them on social media, but I don't want to be just just spam, hey, buy my stuff, which I still don't do. And I was like, so what I want to do is, if I want to have a voice in a channel, then I need to be able to provide something that's worthwhile. something that is, always valuable, and I'm providing something useful to the community if I'm going to be asking them, hey, would you consider this thing? And so along that same time, my kids got into D&D, and they were quite young, but they wanted to play all the time because they had tons of free time. And I knew that I was either going to have to write my own adventures or go broke buying all the books. And so I just started writing down little ideas, little 2-sentence ideas of adventures. And I was like, oh, I wonder if this would work. And so I made 5 game hooks, and I posted them to Facebook, and no one cared. That castle sunk into the swamp. So that was the second castle, and it sunk into the swamp. But then my wife was like, hey, you should be on Instagram. And I was like, I am not a cute girl with a cat. Why would I be on Instagram? And she's like, no, just do it. Stop being a curmudgeon old man. So I did, and the account grew really, really fast. And for the first, I think, 2 or 3 years, I just made a commitment to myself that I'm going to post a new hook Monday through Friday. It's going to be up by 10 a.m. Local time, along with my full-time job. And I did that for, I think, about 3 years, and then I announced I was going to just do 3 a week. And I have people in the comments saying, thank you, we can't keep up with you. And I was like, oh, good, okay, I'm not letting you guys down.
I'm not the only one. I can't keep up with me.
Yeah, for real. You ever see a dog catch its own tail? And because I feel like that sometimes. Yeah, and then got to like around 725 of those. And at the same time, I kind of switched over to TikTok because it was like the new thing that was happening. I had the same, misgivings about being there because I'm not cool enough. And I had a good friend who was just like, stop it and get over here. I'm like, okay. And so I just started posting more video content because it was easier. And that was also where Instagram was going. And I've kind of put the game hooks on pause, but I still have like a whole document full of like ideas to make game hooks into that I just haven't gotten around to because I'm making events out of nothing and running a whole business.
So literally you're building D&D in real life because that's what we do, right?
Yeah,
make things out of
much.
nothing.
Yeah, and I thought almost 2 years ago now when I went to do this full time, I left my full-time job that I would have more time, and I don't at all. Because I just think of bigger ideas. I
just think of bigger ideas
and then do them. So yeah, but I mean, it really is about perseverance, and it really is about like looking at failure and going, okay, this is just an opportunity. Don't give up. So many of the people, brands, movies, content that we admire were born out of just minefields of failure and rejection, but they just persevered. They just kept going. And I think that if you feel like you've got something, you got a good idea, and it even gets even some response that people find value in the things that you're going to do, then stick to it. Don't give up. If you believe that that's what you should be doing, then hold on to it. And I don't think you should ever just give up because it's hard. I think there are many wonderful reasons to stop or to change direction or give up, if you will. But just because it's hard, I don't know if that's enough of a reason, at least for me. I'm not going to speak to everyone's experience, but that would be my encouragement. If you're looking to get into this, then to be a creator or an entrepreneur, however you want to term it, to hopefully one day do it full time, or hopefully one day have it, be your income or be the outlet for your creative endeavors, or to have an audience to talk about things that matter to you, then do that. But I think at the outset, you have to find what your why is, the reason that you do this, because the win condition, like in board games, is different for every person, like it's different in every game. And just to go, oh, okay, well, when I come full-time at this, then I'll be a success. Will you? Is that what you're really looking for out of this? Because there are multiple ways to be successful or to have accomplish your goal, but you'll never do it until you know what your goal is and to know why you do something in the first place. And I think perseverance and then knowing where you're headed and why might be the biggest encouragements and guideposts I can give anyone who wants to do something that's never been done before or something creative with their life.
Awesome. Yeah, I see. Because for me, this was not a thought to go big or anything like that. This was a thought of, I am a ones and zeros guy, but as a child and as a teenager, fantasy was always something that kept me grounded and kept me thinking differently. And I had gotten away from it for so many years, and then all of a sudden I got the opportunity to play again, and I realized that this is just something that I need in my life once again. And then it was just a challenge it was a challenge at that point where I didn't make enough money to afford what I was doing. So I was like, well, how do I make money to keep going with this and keep going with this? And now, like I said, now we do this as for fun, but it'd be nice to make a little bit on the side. So I'm not going to complain. It's really kind of where it's at right now. With 4 kids, a wife, and a full-time job, it's hard. It's hard to keep up. It's hard to keep steady. So we try our best.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
if this is your creative outlet, then good.
Yeah, really. I mean, that's what this is, and this is my favorite show during our creative outlet, not because I love playing online and I love streaming the games, but this takes a lot less effort, and I still get to enjoy the creative side of it, and I get to meet a bunch of amazing people, which has opened up doors upon doors upon doors of excitement. So I know something I personally want to know, because we mentioned off the stream that you've been playing for over 25 years, correct?
I think actually more than that.
That's why I said over.
No, like we might be off by quite a bit. Let me do the math. Hold on. 33 years.
Okay.
Yeah, playing for 33 years since the 80s, in junior high, in the gym before school.
Do you remember your first character?
I don't, because like a lot of people, like, you didn't play whole campaigns, you just like messed around before school and at lunch, right? And like I do have vivid memories of borrowing the monster manual from, I want to say, first edition, with the terrible art inside, and just poring over it and having printed out from somewhere a bunch of character sheets and just filling them out, making characters and stuff. And so you more play in your mind alone than you do with friends at those ages. But I do remember when I was about high school age, late teens, the first character I played for multiple sessions and multiple years was Jonas, a human wizard from second edition, who was literally named for that Weezer song, "My Name is Jonas," because I thought that song rocked, and I still do.
I still do.
That's the same album that has "In the Garage," where it talks about, I have the Dungeon Master's Guide, Kitty Pryde, and Nightcrawler too. So so I just thought they were the best band ever. And and Jonas still shows up as an NPC in some of my games now, especially with my kids, who think it's very funny. But awesome.
Yeah, that's those are always fun things to ask people, because it really brings that nostalgia back of how long you've been playing and whatnot. What is the most significant event during a game that you would kind of remember?
Most significant moment in a game, I think,
doesn't have to streamed. It could have just been in the back room.
There's two that compete, but I'll tell the one that that wasn't streamed. So I had a a group I was playing in person, and a lot of these people are my friends and my close friends now. And it was a halfling village being attacked by hill giants, and they came in on a flying carpet with a friend of theirs who kind of got them there in time. And there was, one bridge out of the city across the river, the village, and on the other side of all these hills, and the hill giants are up there, like hurling rocks into the town. And so everyone's trying to get across the bridge, and wading through the water are a couple of hill giants just going for the bridge. And the whole team was just like, all right, we're going to go and take care of the ones throwing rocks, because if they take care of that, they don't have to get across the bridge. And then my wonderful player who was playing a ranger was like, all right, I'll take care of the bridge, I guess, and jumps off the carpet, takes out a figurine of wondrous power. The griffin comes out of it. They land on it and just like come down and are, and fight off the hill giants. And because everyone was running from the ones on the hill, no one in the village saw anything. That was amazing that the other people did. They just saw her single-handedly save their village. And her backstory was that she was a kind of a haunted, failed hero who failed to save her city, her village, from attackers. And now she's the hero of Hain, the halfling village. And she was like crying at the table, almost like little tears, because it was like this like huge catharsis for her character, and it was epic. But then all the guys were like, that was great. What are we, chopped liver? Come on, we took down like 4 hill giants. So it was really, really funny. And I never hesitated to refer to her as the hero of Hain when she was around any halfling anywhere in the world. They were like, oh, we know you, yeah. And the guys were just like, really?
Just you? That's it? Mm-hmm. Nobody else?
And she was like, I didn't give the name. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
So I think that's the first one that comes to my mind.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. And the wonderful part is, the demeanor of what was actually seen and what was happening is now the perception of the world and the characters that are in it. So that's a lot of fun to play around with when you're just, running into towns and you run into a halfway. You're like, oh, I know you, and everybody else is like,
yeah. Exactly.
It's great.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Let's see here. Oops. Let me hop over. So we've heard about what critical dice is, and just a heads up for everybody, if you like, those clicky clack things that you drop or you step on in the middle of the night. Oh goodness. So there's the massive one that he's got in his hand.
Here's one that my friend Sarah made. She's a dice maker, but here's the best part.
It's got the beard.
It's got my face.
That's
on
awesome.
The 20.
It's got your face on the 20.
Which is the most hilarious thing ever. I think that's really funny.
No, I think personalized items are amazing. Our wonderful friends over at C4 Labs made us these last year, and
C4 is great.
They're awesome. It's crazy. I will say one thing about the community. They're so generous. It's insane. Our friends at GUI Cube. So in GUI Cube, you have the opportunity to build or create a character that then is used in their stories and in their world. So this is here, let's see if I can get this. So there's my character right there.
Like a table token.
Yeah. So it's actually a magnet. So if you take it off.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then you can pin it to yourself because they didn't like pins. We got those as game masters at Gen Con. But that was my first character. Now it was changed up a little bit, but Dakin has always been a character that has developed throughout since I was, 10 years old. I've been playing off and on this character before I even knew what Dungeons and Dragons was. And the character was so influential in my life, and it's funny because people didn't know what it meant until I started talking about Dungeons and Dragons and things like that. I named my dog after the character, and the dog's like 11 years old now. So, but yeah, everybody wondered why I called the dog Dakin, and I was like, well, this is the character that I designed back when I was a kid, who was I guess the best way to put it would be a paladin, but it was before I even knew what classes were, and I was writing a collaborative story on a text forum, and it was
nice.
based off of the Dragon Riders of Pern series from Anne McCaffrey.
Great series.
So that's where the character comes from, and I still remember the dragon that I was given. Like, it's crazy the amount of information about that specific moment in my life I remember, and there are many moments in my life I don't remember. So,
but the ones that were made up, absolutely.
The ones that were made up, a lot of those I do remember.
I just want to circle back to your dog as a paladin, because I'm like, that's a big mood. Like, yeah, a lot of dogs are paladins. Faithful to the end, they follow a code, defenders of the people, specifically their people. You know, like, that makes a lot of sense. But I have 4 dogs,
which stems, how do I be? Which one's the paladin?
None of them. Not a single one of them. One of them's absolutely a rogue. And another one is for sure a barbarian. One of them is some kind of sluggard. I don't even know. One might be a monk. I'm not even sure. But yeah, none of them are paladins. Not at all. Yeah.
No, my dog was not a paladin. He was a mix between a rogue and a monk. Because the only reason I can say that story is we were having a party at the house, and we took my dog to go hang out with the other dogs within the community, over to our friend's house, who has a 6-foot fence. Now, my dog is part Papillon, part American Eskimo. The dog is this big, right? I put him over the fence. All right, I open the fence, throw him in the fence, so throw him in the area, close the fence. By the time I turn around, he's looking at me. The dog jumps a 6-foot fence, and I'm like, come on. You're less than 2 feet tall. Like, what is this?
You're a wee. What is this? Yeah.
Yeah. So absolutely. That's my ridiculous rogue monk combo.
I love it.
But
it's like a story work and Step of the Wind.
Yeah. But yeah, that's that was my moment. I was like, okay, you do what you want. I can't pin you anywhere.
I can't stop you. Yeah.
But
they make our lives more interesting for sure.
Yeah. All right. So now that we've learned a lot about the character, we've learned a lot about Jason. Now we're going to hit our last moment. And this is, as I tell everybody, the core of what Tavern Talks originally was. And that is getting things that you can use in your table that hopefully will help you down the road. And it's just 6 questions. Most of them are about that. And then I got a couple personal ones.
Okay.
So the first one.
Okay.
So the first one is: do you have a book, TV show, or movie that you pull inspiration from that just hits off the top of your head?
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of pulling inspiration for ideas from other media, especially the further away from the fantasy genre they are. So when I was a kid, we read the Hardy Boys, Tom Swift, Boxcar Children, and then as an adult, I discovered the one that's almost even older than them, which is the Happy Holisters. And the reason why they're so great is it's like Scooby-Doo, right? There's a mystery, and they solve it, and they find clues, and they end up in abandoned old windmills and castles and all this crazy stuff. Happy Holisters go all over. They go to Europe and to Holland, and they go to the American Southwest and Canada, and they go all over the place. And it's great because the stories are dumb, but the mysteries are pretty good if you're a kid. And I've discovered that often, not always, that a collective group of adventurers sometimes have trouble with puzzles that are meant for older children. I think we've all experienced this. It's not always, but it so basically ends up being like really wonderful, well-structured fodder for adventures and for mysteries and machinations of the bad guy. So yeah, like children's books from like the 20s, 30s, and 40s that are like adventure books. Love those. And most people don't even know them and have never read them, and they're not going to accuse me of like, oh, that's just that one episode from One Piece. And you're like, dang it, it is. No, go further afield, go further away. No one's ever going to go, hey, that's that Hardy Boys adventure. Never once has it happened.
Yeah, no, I pull a lot of
recommendation.
I pull a lot of stuff through. One guy's the Zan from last week said he pulls from like crime shows, and one of my favorite ones I pull from is Blacklist, and nobody ever figures out that that's who I'm pulling from. Nice. So now they do. Dang it! Oh well, I've given my secret. One of them. All right. Second question is there a homebrew rule that you love to use at your table that maybe people have not thought about?
So I was thinking about that, and nothing like specific comes to mind, but more of a general like meta rule that you can do almost anything, but it's going to cost you. And this really started because in playing some of the stream games I do at Quincy's Tavern, I have a lot of players who really like to do buck wild things, or they're like, I don't know if there's a rule for this, but here's what I want to do. And now what's turned into is, may I approach the bench? And I'm all, you may approach. And they're like, here's what I want to do. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you can do that, but here's what you have to give me. And it's either like a penalty or something the chat gave them, but I get to have it now instead, like, luck points and things, or something story-wise. So they get to have their moment in the sun, but it's going to cost them. Just like, you can do a Herculean feat of strength, but you're going to feel it in the morning, right? And so it really does give my players this sense of freedom to kind of go off label, as it were, but not willy-nilly with no consequences. So there's still a kind of a grounding in realism, but it's not punitive. It's a deal offered and a deal gladly accepted. And now I sound like a warlock patron. So, but that's still going to be my answer.
All right. I like that answer. Third question. Is there somebody in the industry that you look up to?
Someone in the industry that I look up to. There are a lot of people I look up to.
I figured as much.
And I'm just trying to think, like, who do I say so other people aren't like, hey, what about me? No. Here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say that I look up to G.W. Walker. He runs Fabled 42. It's a stream and Discord server where I've been participating for years. He has been stalwart and a wonderful emotional core and center and rock during several times of Discord and interpersonal conflicts that you would hope adults could get around, but they just don't. And just I love seeing him grow as a person, grow the community, and welcome so many people into the space of tabletop RPGs and be a promoter and an advocate and an ally of having marginalized voices get to be brought to the fore. And he's a marvelous DM and a good friend. So I would say GW Walker, awesome. GW005 on Instagram.
Awesome. Definitely go check him out. I've been a part of Table 42 for a long time. I personally thought that you were the leader of that one, but I
am not,
did not know that.
Close. I'm barely the leader of my Monster of the Week stream.
Yeah. And I think that's how I found you on Fable 42 is through the Monster of the Week stream.
Yeah, so. Now that you're saying that, I'm like, oh yeah, you know about this.
I know, yeah. And I can tell you that Discord is its own monster, and
Mm-hmm.
it comes with an amazing community, but there's always, I think that's why they call it Discord. There's always conflict.
Yeah, I think they were being not so cleverly on the nose. They're just like, no, we
Yeah.
know what we've done.
Yeah. So this one is more of a personal one for me.
Sure.
It's who would you recommend as another guest for the
The
show?
Smoking Barrel.
Smoking Barrel. I think I've already reached out to those guys them as well. So
Good. Now I can bug them too. And
yeah, now we get two bugs.
They are in the chat.
They were in the chat. Yep. I don't know if we still have them.
And I will help you bug them.
Awesome. I would love to have them on
hilarious.
Here.
But
so
who from the chat? Who? What? Where? When? Here's why I recommend the Smoking Barrel is because if you want to hear well-reasoned, inspirational, and encouraging words and life philosophies from your fantasy mom and dad, go nowhere else but the Smoking Barrel.
Awesome. I love it. Sooner or later, I'm gonna get on this real thing and bring my own tavern to life. I've already bought the tavern outfit. You'll see it on Sunday.
Nice.
And I wear it on the tavern every once in a while now, but I didn't do it tonight, partially because we just moved into a new house and it's laying around somewhere. No, I'll get a hold of you guys, promise. Second to last question. Practical advice you would give to a new player or GM?
New player or GM, the goal of the game is to have fun, full stop. That's the period, that's the sentence, that's the whole concept. And you each have your own responsibilities for other people's fun, just as you have your own personal responsibility for your own fun at any table, no matter what side of the screen you're on. And if you think that you're not having fun, or you feel like someone else isn't having fun, that's your first clue that something's not right. And that's a great time for the party to defeat that monster and to resolve that conflict and see what can be done to help magnify the joy and the fun of everyone and lift the entire, boat on that tide.
I love it. And then finally, and with this question, I don't know how you're going to top the convergence, but what is next for the Critical Dice?
Great question. While I go into an existential panic. So what's next?
98 days. That's next, right?
Yeah. Literally, what's next is playing my small role in helping Quincy's Tavern put out his cookbook.
Awesome.
Which is going to be kickstarted like this year, like soon after the convergence, if everything goes according to plan. And I've read the rough draft, and I'll just say this: y'all ain't ready. It's good. It's good. It's not. Imagine a cookbook, but it lives in the world of Dipper Pines and gosh, what is the name of that show?
What are we talking about?
The Mystery Shack and come on, chat, help me out.
Mystery Shack. Come on, chat. Mystery Shack. Help us out. Everybody start Googling. Find this.
This is where our old brain head comes in. Gravity Falls.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that yet.
Oh, yeah, it's great. You should watch it. It's really, really good. My kids watched it first. But yeah, like imagine a compilation of stories that someone like the character Quincy would have, gathered over the years, however many those are, and the recipes that those stories inspired. And you get both.
You get both.
And so even if you're never going to make any of the recipes, which would be a shame, it's still an amazing book. And that's what's coming next, is me playing my small role in helping with that.
Yeah, but that's a big opportunity, and
it is.
I'm not. So Well, Jason, I don't want to keep you any longer. It has been
appreciate
a great time to just sit and talk and hopefully give you some breathing space in between the study and the preparation for the convergence.
It's always nice to talk to fellow nerds about the things that we love deeply, obsessively, and with great minutia. But yeah.
For the audience, I'm going to post up the link. As of right now, I'm not, because I'm not seeing anything so far
Okay.
about us creating Jason's character just yet, Griff. But if that does happen, you will find that over here on that G Drive link. You'll be able to get that. All we need is that $25. Like I said, just a reminder that 25 does not have to come from one person. And like I said, and our artist is going to create that if that happens.
So speaking of art, can I do like a little outro promo for somebody else?
Of course.
So you can find me at Critical Dice, Instagram, Heaven Help Us TikTok, thecriticaldice.com. But a friend of mine recently just made a D&D TikTok coloring book. They asked if I would be in it, and so I said yes, and so they did. And the Kickstarter is going on right now, and they made this picture of me, which I spent time this week. Let me see if I can do this. Let's see for work.
Is he doing the whole trying to do the magic?
Yeah, there's the magic.
There's the magic. Check that out. That is awesome.
Just search hashtag D&D Talk coloring book on Kickstarter, or the links in my bio on my socials. It's a fun little project. You can get the physical book for like $20 or the digital book for like $10. And it should be a lot of fun. A lot of our friends are in there, and I'm thrilled that I'm now a cartoon character, even though I suspect that I always was in some way. So thank you, Ellen. Or Porter, probably Porter. But that's it for me.
Hey, no worries. Thanks once again for coming on the tavern. This is Last Call. Once again, this is Tavern Talks. We bring on guests every single week where we talk about what their world is in the TTRPG community, what their character they're bringing, and practical advice that you can use, hopefully, at your table. Come check us out again next week at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Twitch. You can also see us on Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where currently we are going through Free League Publishing's The One Ring, as we are homebrewing an adventure through Middle Earth that is not known by everyday people. So hopefully we'll see you there. If not, we'll see you next week. Have a wonderful week.